criticism that has come up from your opponent and his supporters has been turnover in office.
Yeah. It's not a new issue, is it? I think you and I sat here in the last election and talked about the same thing.
Ago.
Yeah. And as you know, my last opponent now works for us. So I don't know what that has to say, but I mean, that's always been tied in with low morale. And that was the issue that you heard 4 years ago. And I'm very glad to have Mr. John Hall working for us. He's a great prosecutor, and we're glad to have him. But the issue on turnover, I think, is, I'll tell you straight to the camera, I think another manufactured spin on things. If you look back, and we can produce the same list that we gave Rhodey for you, but if you look back, you know, and it's nothing to brag about, it's just a number. 7 years before I took office, the average length of employment, when you average out the length of employment, was something like 2.2 years. Since I've been in office, it's 2.4. It doesn't mean anything. What it means is sometime around every 2 years, people move along, and they move along for different reasons. I think, and I'm not going to speak for them, I encourage you to talk to the people that have left, but more often than not, it has to do with money, and it has to do with following their family perhaps in a different area, and it also has to do with people that want to make career changes. Now, I did hear the comment at one of our last functions, and if you don't mind, I will address, because I thought that might come up. The quote was, in the last 2 years, since 2009, 17 of his assistants had left, and some percentage was quoted. One of those, I'll tell you, was Warren Goodson, a man who worked with me for 20 years. He retired. 3 of those left for better paying prosecutor jobs in other prosecutor offices. 5 left to begin a whole completely different career that doesn't have anything to do with law. They finally made a decision that law is just not their career. And 8 of them left to begin careers in private practice. And I'm not ashamed of that. That's a fact of life. When you have, in our situation in Galveston County, the upper echelon, the best pay is at the felony level. When those felony attorneys are entrenched, and you had a person start out in misdemeanor and work for 2 years, and he doesn't see a door opening because nobody's leaving up here at the top salaries, they've got to make a decision. And when you sit across from the table in the courtroom from an appointed attorney every day that you know makes more per hour from the county than you get paid as a prosecutor per hour from the county, it's pretty easy to make that decision at some point after you get your feet wet, after you get your trial experience that makes you think you're confident enough to get out in the real world. You're going to make that move and move along. That's what happens. And I told Mr. Hall to produce the people who left for low morale, and Mr. Rhodey's encouraged to do the same thing. Who comes forward and says they left for low morale? We've got lots of letters in our files where everyone said they enjoyed their experience in the DA's office and appreciated it. Again, I think it's an issue of spin.
Obviously, the money issue would come in there. You made note of it. How would you? I mean, obviously, it takes commissioner's court to come and help out with this. But you know, how would you like to go about it? Say the next 4 years, so you could get those salaries up.
We've already started, and I'm not talking about we, the office. The commissioner's court has already started too. They're already. You've probably heard of Condrey and Associates. Mm-hmm. There's already been another review done statewide. And I've seen, you know, some projections. It's something I'm sharing with you for the first time. I haven't even shared with my office, but because I know the reality is we're still in a tight situation. I mean, we just got a demand to cut 3%, and we cut like 2.5 staff, not attorneys, but we were able to cut 2.5 staff, counting 1 attorney. So it's not going to happen anytime soon, but with the help of Commissioner's Court, with these salary studies that they continue to do, we'll be able to get even more monies for our attorneys. And that's, you know, to say that that's not a significant factor for anyone who's repaying student loans, who's trying to take care of a family is being a little short-sighted. Money's an issue. The Commissioner's Court has done a lot for us. From the time that I took office, elected office, 2003, to this point. We've gotten some increases, and we're very appreciative for those increases. And like I say, we've kind of made ourselves halfway competitive, but we haven't been able to draw, I guess I could say, top applicants. You know, we're lucky right now. Surrounding counties are in a hiring freeze, and we're able to interview and keep on keeping our stack of potentials, a lot of good qualified people who are interested in coming down and working for us, and happy with at least having the salaries that we do have. So things are working out. I anticipate raises to occur again, probably maybe within 4 years.
Is it also part that the Galveston County may be a stepping stone for a lot of? It's more active now than it has been in a long while, but it seems to be a good place for a prosecutor to cut their teeth. And
you can ask the defense bar in the courthouse. I think they'll tell you that, and you know, and that's who I encourage. You know, my opponent and I can say whatever we want to say up here, but you know, we can be judged against what the people out there in the public are saying. And if you want to ask, you know, I would go to the defense bar. I would go to other prosecutors that have served here and ask them, and I think they will echo that sentiment. It's a good place to start, you know, and it is the same way with every DA office. You come here, you get your feet wet, you get some trial experience. You don't always win everything, but you get your trial experience, and then you move along. And some people, you know, as I said earlier, move along because they just realize I've committed this time, but law is not going to be my profession. I'm going to pursue something else.
What is the salary range for prosecutors from raw beginner to your top?
Okay, let me give you a public record here. Probably the range will go from 54,000 to, depending on your longevity, 90,000. And then our first assistant makes even more than that. So Donna Good makes even more than that. When I started in 1990, my salary was $27,000 in the misdemeanor world. So you know, Commissioner's Court has worked with us, and they worked with us a lot in the last well, since 2003.
how much was that? I mean, what year was that when
I started in 1990. It's $27,500 a year. When Mike told me, you know, we like a 2-year commitment, I was thinking to myself, not a problem. You know, that's not enough money to stay too long. But found our passion and stayed.
Tell us a little bit about the employees you have that are not prosecutors.
Support staff.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm thinking particularly about investigators. How many you have, whether it would, and this is a question of true curiosity. Would it help to have more? Mm-hmm. Even if you had to give up some prosecutors?
Well, you're not the only curious person, because I think I've heard that out on the campaign trail too. We have 4 investigators, and we have 4 investigators for a caseload of is routinely 13,000 to 14,000 cases a year coming in. And if you go back and if you were to go back and look at the Commissioner's Court's meetings, you will see that we under my administration tried for 3 years before we were able to secure 1 additional investigator. I mean, forever we only had 3 in the Galveston County DA's office. And it was, I believe, just a philosophy that the investigating agencies throughout the county are the ones who take care of the cases. And then it should be a minuscule amount of work that needs to be done by your investigators in-house, really just to help you prepare for trials. Maybe not go out and do more investigations. We asked for 3 years. We were able to secure another investigator. Would it benefit us to even have more investigators? Yes, but you know, you just don't get to go knock on the door of the money tree each year and get what you want. You got to prioritize things a little bit. And that fight that it took us to get the investigator, I thought sent a clear message that, you know, we don't come right back and ask for another investigator. But